Welcome to the Rise of the Trades podcast, the show dedicated to helping you to build, grow, and scale your trades or construction business. All rise for your host, Craig Wilkinson.
In today's coaching episode, I'm going to be teaching you how to identify your B2C and B2B target markets using 9 characteristics. Now, it's vitally important that you understand who your target market is up front before you do any marketing to make sure that we get laser focused on attracting what I call pre-sold and ready to buy customers or clients to your business. And if you do not identify your target market right now, I guarantee that you will end up wasting time and money on creating content for social media, videos, blogs, vlogs, landing pages, websites that just do not generate you any leads, or the leads that do come through will be from time wasters and tire kickers. And these are just some of the pain points that you're going to experience by not identifying your target market up front. Now, before we go into today's episode, I'd like to just share with you some exciting information, some information that I know many of you have been waiting for. And that is the doors for you to apply and join my Inner Circle coaching program have now just opened. My Inner Circle is a 12-month marketing and business program where it's live coaching with me online with a small group of other trades business owners where I guarantee to grow your business by an absolute bare minimum 100% over 12 months by being on my program. The doors are now open for the next program, and the link for you to discover more about my Inner Circle is in the description of this podcast. Now, let's transition over to today's coaching session. Out of all of the strategies that I help business owners to implement, one of the most asked for and most popular ones is people asking me to help build their marketing strategy. And I get so many people coming to me saying, Craig, I have no idea what I'm doing wrong because I'm posting on social media, I've got a YouTube channel, I'm doing reels, I've got a website, I've got landing pages, I've got lead magnets, I'm running paid ads. And for whatever reason, I'm just not generating quality leads. What the hell is going wrong? And the first question I ask everybody is this: who is your target market and where can we find them in the highest concentration, both online and offline? Who is your target market? And for many people, they'll think they know who the target market is, and they'll come out with things like, well, Craig, it's anyone in Sheffield who needs a new boiler, isn't it? You know, I'm a plumbing and heating engineer. I live and work in Sheffield. There's that many different houses in Sheffield. Everybody needs a boiler, so I can fit a boiler for anyone. And then I'll just get people saying to me, Craig, anyone in Bournemouth who needs a new consumer unit, or anyone in Newcastle who wants an extension building. And I'll say, hang on a minute, that's not your target market. As soon as I hear the words anyone, when it comes to marketing, I know that they ain't got a clue of who their target market really is. Now, there can be many reasons why their marketing is not working, but one of the biggest reasons, and one of the main ones, is the marketing to the wrong people. They have not identified who their target market is, where can we find them in the highest concentration, and when we know who they are and we get the messaging right, it's like throwing content out there that punches your target market on the end of the nose and stops them from scrolling and says, look at me. Because I've got a product or a service that will solve the problem that you, my target market, have got. So the first thing we get to work on, whether it's their social media strategy, is identifying the target market. Or whether we're building a website for them, it's who's your target market. Or whether we're running paid ads for them, and it's who's your target market. So we have to understand who they are. The more clarity that we can get on who that target market is, the more chance you've got of your content being put in directly in front of them. And that's when we start to generate more leads. So the first thing I'm going to share with you is this. There are 4 different types of prospects that you will attract into your business, and you will attract all 4 of these. The first 2, I want you to get rid of completely. The second 2 is who our content is going to be aimed at. So let me go through the 4 and let's discount the first 2. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to think of a dartboard, right? And around the outside edge of a dartboard, we've got doubles. And I call them doubles time wasters. Time wasters and tire kickers. Because if you throw some content out there, i.e. a dart, and it's a double around the outer edge of that dartboard, we're going to class that person as being a time waster. And we've got to get rid of them. We don't want time wasters coming into our business as inquiries and leads. The next thing is, on a dartboard, I want you to think of the single numbers, the singles, as being cold leads. So I throw my content out there, I throw a dart, it's single 20. That single 20 is what I call a cold lead. And we do not want to attract time wasters and tire kickers or cold leads into our business, because they just equal lots of time that we're going to waste, lots of energy, lots of effort on people that in reality have probably not got the right budget, or the time scales don't fit with what they're requesting from us. What I'm always looking for, and what I teach with marketing strategy, is when we throw the dart and it's a treble, right? Now we're cooking. So when we put content out there and it's a treble, I call these warm leads. And I want warm leads because if I can generate a warm lead coming into my business, that warm lead somewhere along the lines by consuming my content has got to know about my business. They've got to like me personally, because your personal brand in today's digital marketing age is as important, if not more important, than your company brand. They're going to get to like you with the content that you put out there. And when they get to know you, like you, and trust you, that equals confidence. And when we can install confidence into somebody, that generally equals an inquiry, and we call those warm leads. But ultimately, the bullseye on a dartboard is where we want to be aiming for. We want to be attracting more what I call pre-sold, ready to buy customers or clients. Let me say that again. Pre-sold, ready to buy customers and clients is your bullseye. And if we can throw content out there and we put a dart out there and it's bullseye every time, we know that the person that's now inquiring has been educated through all the content that we've previously put out, and they know about things like timescales, they know about things like budgets, they've seen all your video testimonials, all your social proof. Basically, they've made their mind up already that they want you to do the job. And I call these people pre-sold, ready to buy prospects. Now, when I start to share this with my inner circle members and the people that I coach and work with, they start to get it. And I'm saying, look, right now, you've got a scattergun approach around your marketing strategy. In other words, you're putting random content out there at random times to a random audience, and half that audience don't even want to buy what you're selling. So is there any wonder that you're not hitting bullseye? Yes, the law of averages says you're going to attract the odd pre-sold ready to buy and the odd warm lead. But in doing that, you're also going to attract cold leads and time-wasting leads. And we can't afford to be spending our valuable time that many of us haven't even got spare anyway on time wasters and cold leads. So from this point on, you are going to identify who your target market is, i.e. warm leads and pre-sold ready to buy. And then in another episode, I'm going to be teaching you all about creating the right content with the right marketing message that literally calls that target market out and draws them and attracts them to your business. So no more scattergun approach, putting random crap out at the wrong time and attracting people that we don't want. We're going to get laser focused, identify who the pre-sold ready to buy warm leads are, create the right content that speaks direct to them and punches them on end at nose, and that's who we're going to attract. So get your notepads, get your pens, get your tablets out, and I want you to start to make some notes moving forward. The first thing that you have to understand with any target market is they are not buying a product or a service from you. On your website, you will call it services. These are the services that I offer, or these are the products that I sell. But in reality, nobody's ever buying a product or a service. What they are actually buying from you is a solution to a problem that they have got. Let me say it again. People don't buy products and services. They buy solutions to a problem that they are encountering. Let me give you an example. A builder, as in me, I'm a joiner builder by trade. A builder is never selling an extension. I used to do loft conversions. I had a loft conversion business before I sold it. So we were never selling loft conversions. Our competitors were doing this, and this is why they weren't getting the leads that we were getting. Or this is why they were attracting time wasters and tire kickers, and we were attracting all the warm leads pre-sold ready to buy. And that's because we understood this. So when our competitors were out there putting posts like before and after pictures, yeah? So you put a before picture of the house before you did the loft conversion or extension on it, and then you put maybe a during, which looks like a bomb site, and I've got no idea why people want to show images or videos of jobs during, because that just turns people off, but they put during pictures out there, and then they put after pictures out there, and they'd be saying things like, oh, look at this loft conversion that we've built in Sheffield. Look at this extension that we've built in Sheffield. Listen, nobody wants to buy an extension. Nobody wants to buy a loft conversion. What they are wanting is they are wanting to buy space. So when our competitors were putting posts out there, like before, during and after, and showing like a bomb site of what their transformation and their loft or garage or extension is going to go through by putting terrible images with the job looking messy on it, we didn't do any of that. We changed our complete and different approach, and we said, hey, listen, have you got a growing family? Do you live in Sheffield in these particular 3 postcodes? Because if you do, and you've got a growing family, the likelihood is you're running out of versatile living space. And when you run out of versatile living space, you all end up getting on top of each other. Maybe you've got a teenager, and when you go into your teenager's bedroom, you'll find a half-eaten mouldy pizza underneath the bed, or you'll find a glass of mouldy milk on their bedside cabinet, because that's what happens in teenagers' bedrooms, right? And they're messy, and there's nowhere to hang the clothes. So what we used to do is we used to sell the pain that people were experiencing, as in, you're a growing family and you're running out of space. This is the pain that you are now encountering. But in selling the pain, we also offered the solution. And the solution was if this is the pain you're experiencing, have you considered increasing your living space by having a loft conversion? So we didn't sell loft conversions. We solved the pain that our customers were experiencing, but gave them a loft conversion and versatile living space as the solution to solve their problems. So when I see people putting photographs of white boxes on walls, i.e. boilers or consumer units, and you guys are taking photographs of boilers and consumer units as an example and sharing them across social media, how unsexy is that to your target market? Nobody ever wants to buy a white box on the wall. Nobody ever wants to spend $2,500 on a white box, which is called a boiler, that gets shoved underneath your stair cupboard. So why are you promoting and marketing these products or services to your customers? Because it's landing on deaf ears. What you need to be marketing is the pain that people are experiencing that leads them to searching for somebody to solve the problem of, I need a new boiler or I need a new consumer unit. But to understand what goes off in your customers' minds to trigger that thought of who can solve my problem, you first have to understand who your bloody target market is in the first place, because you can't sell to everybody. You think of a builder as an example, like I've just said. And when I say to people, what do? They go, we build extensions. Okay, who's your target market? Well, anybody that's got an house in Sheffield that wants an extension. No, it's not. There are 750,000 people. 750,000 people live in Sheffield. There's 300,000 homes in Sheffield. So can you build an extension on a 3-storey high-rise block of flats? No. Can you build them on masonettes? No. So not everybody in Sheffield is your target market then. Well, I suppose you're right, Craig, when you say it like that. And what about people who don't own their own property? Maybe they rent a house from the council, or they are a student renting a house from a landlord, or they're in rented accommodation. Can you build an extension for them? No. Right. So not everybody in Sheffield that has got a house is your target market. And then the people start to say, right, I sort of get this, Craig. So then I'll say to them, okay, so that's who you can't build an extension for, but who can you build an extension for? If you go back over your last 30, 40, 50 jobs where you've built an extension, in this hypothetical example, what type of properties do you work on? And then they'll come back and say, well, actually, they're like 3-bed semis up to 5-bed detached. Right, now we're getting somewhere. So now you only work on 3-bed semis to 5-bedroom detached. Okay. I would then say, is it true that not everybody can afford an extension from you? And they'll say, yeah, there's certain parts of Sheffield that aren't very affluent. Okay, so let's discount them. But what are the affluent areas of Sheffield then that you want to work in? Who have got the money that can afford you? Well, that might be S17, S10 and S11. Right, brilliant. So now we are looking for 3-bed semis to 5-bed detached in S17, S10 and S11 within Sheffield. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Are you with me? So people don't want to ever buy an extension. They want to buy a solution to solve the problem that they've got of space. Nobody ever wants to spend $2,500 on a white ugly box that's shoved underneath a stair cupboard. Nobody ever wants to do that. How unsexy is that? What they are buying is they're buying the hot water, they're buying peace of mind, they're buying the heating. That's what they're buying, the solution to the problem that they've now found. Are you with me? So number one, you've got to start to identify what are the pain points and what are the problems that your customers or clients are encountering that leads them to contact you. What is the pain they're experiencing that leads them to contact you in the first place? Because we have to understand what that pain is. Because we're not going to start putting post pictures of boilers everywhere and extensions are everywhere. We're going to start selling the pain that they have got, and you've got the solution to solve it. So my first question is, what are the pain points? What are the problems? What are keeping your customers, clients awake at night? What is it? What is that? Because that is going to form part of your target market. Now, once we've identified what that pain is, we now need to turn our attention over to the 9 characteristics that each of the B2C, that's business to consumer. So that means if you're selling a boiler to Mrs. Jones down the road, one of your neighbours, that's B2C, that's business to consumer. There's 9 characteristics. Likewise, B2B, business to business, there is also 9 characteristics. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through what each of these 9 characteristics are for both B2B and B2C. And I want you to sit down and start working out what the answers to each one of these 9 characteristics are. Because these answers are going to form part of your target market moving forward. Now, it may well be that your target market doesn't have all of these 9 characteristics. They might only have 6, they might only have 4. But the closer that we can get to getting that bullseye and identifying who that pre-sold ready-to-buy customer is, the sooner you'll start to generate more profitable leads. So I'm going to go through each one. I want you to make a note of each 9, and then I want you to go through each one of these 9s and say, does this actual characteristic represent my target market? If it does, you've got to go into clarity of answering the question around each one of these 9. If it doesn't, and it doesn't come into it, then you leave it and you move on. So let's start off with your B2C target market, your business to consumer. Here are the 9 characteristics that you need to work out. Number 1, age. What is the age or the average age of your bullseye target market? Remember, we're looking for bullseye. So if you thought about your last 20, 30 best ever customers or clients, they're the bullseye. If you think about it and you were to categorize your last 20 or 30 customers, and you were to start to work out or have a guesstimate at what age bracket they fitted into, yes, I'm sure you're going to get some of them that might fit into maybe, 18 to 25-year-old. Then there might be some that fit into retired 65 plus. But then there might be something in the middle where the vast majority of that bullseye fall between, 30 and 40. You're always going to have people fall into different age brackets, but come on, if you were to take your top 20 or 30 customers and you were to have a guess at their age, a trend, a pattern will start to appear in all them age demographics. And then that age that's the most popular, that's your bullseye. That is the one that we're going to start marking towards. So number 1 is age. Number 2 is gender. In other words, is it male or female that contact you, that you generally deal with on one of your jobs? Maybe it's 50-50 and we've got to start creating content that appeals to Mr. and Mrs. And this is important because if we identify, let's say for argument's sake, that the vast majority of your customers are all female that contact you, that you deal with, then obviously images that you'd use on your website or images that you'd use on social media would have female people in them. Are you with me? Number 3, marital status. Are they married, widowed, divorced? Is there any correlation between any of that? Are they just partners? Is there any correlation between any of that where you can say, well, actually, the vast majority of my pre-sold ready to buy are this? So number 3 is marital status. Number 4, children. how many children do they have? So, for example, when I were building lofts, we knew that people were running out of space. Why? Because the babies or the toddlers or the teenagers, they were all growing up, they were all running out of space. So we knew on average that our bullseye target market had 2.5 children and they needed more space. So again, any images talking about their children growing up on social media posts and in videos and blogs, we had to bring that into the mix. So number 4 is children. Number 5 is income. Again, your product or service or your solution to the problem that your customers have got, you might be at a premium. You might be at the middle or top end of people's budgets. So what income does that household or that individual bring in? Because if you're selling extensions and loft conversions like we did at the top of the range, with respect, people on minimum wage or in minimum wage type of jobs could never afford what we did. So we knew that the income bracket with any of our customers moving forward had to be 150 to 200,000 pound plus to be able to afford us to do the job. They'd be same with you. So number 5 is income. Number 6 is education. Is any of your target market specifically educated in a certain way? Maybe a lot of your target market end up being doctors and dentists and professional people, like it was actually with my loft conversion business. There were a certain area in Sheffield called Lodge Moor where there used to be a hospital. And they knocked the hospital down and built a new development on it. And we must have done 50 loft conversions on that development. And most of the people that lived on that development were actually doctors, nurses, surgeons who were now commuting to the new hospital. So a lot of our target market were educated. Maybe yours aren't educated. Have they had to go to university? Or the uneducated? The education is point number 6. Number 7 is location. Where are your target market located? Again, going back to us, we would only ever work in 3 postcode areas in Sheffield, which were S10, S11 and S17. And anywhere outside of those areas, we wouldn't work. We got it that refined. But maybe you will work anywhere in Birmingham or anywhere in London. Maybe you'll work anywhere in Yorkshire. Maybe you'll work anywhere in the north of England or anywhere in the whole of the UK. You need to identify where your target market are hanging out. What's the location? Where do they live? Characteristic number 8. Hobbies. What hobbies do your target market have? Do they have any hobbies? Where do they hang out? What do they do in their spare time? Again, going back to my loft conversion business, up at Lodge Moor, which I've just mentioned, and the affluent areas I've just mentioned, there's 3 golf courses. All within that area. There's Hallamshire Golf Course, there's Doran Totley Golf Course, there's Beachiff Golf Course, there's actually Abbeydale Golf Course as well. So there's 4 actually. So what did we do? We found out that a lot of our target market played golf. So what did we go and do? We went and sponsored teas. We went and did sponsored events at golf courses, etc. So what are their hobbies? And the final characteristic for B2C are values. What do your customers value? Do they value their time? Do they value their loved ones and their family? What is it that they actually value? Because if we can understand what that is, we can then start bringing the values into the marketing strategy that helps draw out and target these specific pre-sold, ready-to-buy customers. So they're the 9 characteristics that I want you to write down and start to build up your demographic around. And like I've said, if some of these don't actually fit with your target market, then leave it. Don't force yourself if they don't fit. But for many of you, all 9 of these will fit into your target market. And when we can start to get laser focused on who that bullseye is, who is that pre-sold, ready-to-buy customer? Where do they live? Where do they hang out? What income have they got? What's the hobbies? What's the values? How many kids have they got? What age are they at? What gender are they? Are they married? Are they divorced? Are they widowed? When we start to pull all that lot together, we start to create an avatar of your bullseye. And then what we can start to do then is start to create content that calls out your target market and hits them with the pain points that I've just been sharing with you. And that's what stops people from scrolling in the feed. That's what gets your target market to start taking notice of your content, because it's like punching them on then the end of the nose. You've got this problem. You're this type of person. We've got this solution. Do you want to buy it? And that's how you identify your B2C target market. So let's now transition over to the B2B target market, because you might not work B2C, you might work business to business. Maybe you're a subcontractor and you contract to main contractors, it's B2B. Now again, there's 9 characteristics to identify your B2B, but again, not all 9 might be relevant to your target market. Most of them will be, but if all 9 aren't, don't answer all 9. Answer as many that actually are in fit with your own target market. Okay? So let's start off. Number 1 is the industry, sector or sectors. You see, when you look at, let's say, our top 30, 40, 50 past customers or clients in this case, you might say, well, actually, most of my clients work in this particular industry or this particular sector. If that's the case, what are they? Because then we've got to start marketing more to that industry or that particular sector. So number 1, what industries and sectors do they belong to? Number 2, location. Again, you might be a contractor who will work anywhere in the UK. You'll work as far north as Aberdeen. You'll work as far south as Southampton and everywhere in between. For others, you might want to stay in your county. For others, it might be North or South England. For others, it might be a specific designated town or city or even postcode. But again, we need to identify where these people are and what locations they are in. So number 2 is location. Number 3, turnover. What size businesses do you want to attract? Are you after small businesses that are turning over maybe under £1 million? Are you after medium-sized businesses that are turning over $1 million to say 5 million? Or are you after large national companies that are turning over 200 million? What's the size of these businesses that you want to attract? You need to understand that, and you need to understand the size of the turnover. So number 3 is turnover. Number 4, how many employees does that business employ? Again, if you go on turnover, generally a business turning over £1 million or less will more likely have 15 or less staff. For someone turning over £1 million to 5 million, they might have 25 plus staff. For the national companies that are turning over 200 million, they might have 200 members of staff. Okay, who are these staff? Because many of them will be on places like LinkedIn. And if we can start to get in with their staff by building up a relationship and a rapport with them on LinkedIn, and then find out off them who you actually need to speak to within that business, there's inroads there. So how many staff is number 4? Number 5, the job title of the person that you need to speak to. Because If it's a larger B2B company, you are probably not going to be dealing with the business owner. You might be dealing with their QS or their buyer or their estimator, or it might be their finance director. There's different departments in bigger companies. So it's not necessarily the business owner that you need. So who is it? Maybe it is the business owner. Maybe it's a shop fitting company that you want to get in with that's turning over £1 million and you actually know of the business owner, and it's that person that you need to get hold of and speak to. Again, they'll be on LinkedIn. So what's the job title and description of the person that you need to specifically speak to? That's number 5. Number 6, their buying style. In other words, when they buy from people, what are their payment terms? If you're dancing with the big boys and you're dancing in the commercial industrial sector, a lot of the times you are dictated to by their payment terms. Now, I don't know about you, but I would never want to work with a company that's taking 30, 60, 90 days to pay me. They're not my bullseye. They're my doubles. They're the outside. They're the time wasters and tie kickers for me. Don't forget here, we're talking about bullseye. So if you're wanting to attract pre-sold, ready-to-buy clients to your business, in terms of buying style, what's their payment terms going to be? How often do you want paying? How do you want paying? Do you want paying by bank transfer? Do you want paying by standing order? Hopefully in today's day and age, you'll not be getting paid in cash. But you see what I'm saying? Remember, you're looking for your bullseye here, so their buying style is number 6. Number 7 is how often do they buy from you? Because if you're getting in with another contractor, as an example, surely you want that contractor to be constantly feeding new business. You don't want to be looking for new jobs and new contracts every time one comes to an end, I wouldn't have thought. So how often do they buy from you? Is your bullseye target market someone who buys from you twice a year, or someone who gives you 2 jobs a week? Are you with me? How often do you want them to give you the business? Number 8 are values. Again, just like on B2C, what do these businesses value? Are they a business that don't give a crap about their employees or subcontractors or people that they bring into their business? Are they trying to screw you down? Are they putting you on retentions and they don't want to pay you? Are they stringing your 30 days payment terms out and you're now at 90 days because they're telling you your invoice came in, you missed the last payment run? Or are they companies that really do value your business, your help, your support? They go out the way to help you. They take you to races on jollies and things like that. What are their values as a business? Because I personally would never want to work with a business that didn't give a shit about me or my business or my team, or want to pay me on 90 days. So number 8 is values. And number 9, and the final characteristic with B2B, are what I call strategic partners. Strategic partners. In other words, if you're already in with what you would consider to be a bullseye, pre-sold, ready-to-buy client, and your relationship with that client is absolutely bang on, and everything about that relationship, your relationship, is sweet, strategic partners means non-competing businesses that have got the same target market as you. In other words, if you're working for that really good company that's got a great relationship, why can't you ask that person, do you know of anybody else that does this? Or could you get me in with somebody else? Or could you make a referral or introduction to any of your contacts that might want our services? Are you with me? Now, they're never going to recommend you to a competitor. So these are non-competing businesses, but you've got the same target market as what they are. So you want an introduction, like a referral, and we call these strategic partners. So they are the 9 characteristics for your B2B. Now, having done and gone through the target market setting session like we're doing now with literally thousands of business owners, many of you will start to draw a blank at some of these questions. And you're not thinking outside the box to get the answers to them. So, for example, the B2C, you might say, well, I don't know how old my customers are. I don't know how many children they've got. I don't know what hobbies they've got, Craig. Really? Surely all that information will be on Facebook. Surely you should be able to maybe find out what the birthday is off Facebook or guesstimate an age from Facebook. You'll be able to find out how many kids they've probably got on Facebook because they post pictures of the kids and you need to work that out for your target market. You should be able to have an idea of income. You'll be able to understand what their hobbies are, if they've got any hobbies. Why? Because they put all this on Facebook, don't they, or on Instagram. Likewise, with your B2B, all this information can be found on LinkedIn or even at Companies House if you want to start buying data. So the information is out there. Your job is to start pulling this together. Now, if you've not kept any of this information in the past and you're starting from scratch, it's a bit of a challenge to start off with because you've got to start pulling it together. But if I give you this tip, and I've dropped this in 2 or 3 times already through this podcast, here's what I would do if I were you. I'd get a spreadsheet, and down the left-hand side of the spreadsheet, I would write down your top 30 customers, B2C, or clients, B2B, that you've ever had. You must know the best customers and clients you've ever worked with. Right. Put the top 30 of them down the left-hand side of a spreadsheet. And then across the top of that spreadsheet, I want you to put each one of these 9 characteristics. And then what you're going to do is you're going to come down to the first customer, and let's say it's B2C as an example. So it might be Mr. Murphy, and then you'll say, right, what age, if I had to have a guess, do I think Mr. Murphy was? You put it in. You put it in the cell on this spreadsheet. Okay, Mr. Murphy, yeah, gender, male, marital status, does that come into play? If it does, what do you think it is? Children, did they have any children? Perhaps children come into the equation. And you'll start to be able to work out each customer and then score them against each one of these 9 characteristics on a spreadsheet. And if you go down your last top 30, I absolutely guarantee that a pattern will start to emerge on that spreadsheet, where all of a sudden you'll say, hang on a minute, I've got all these customers and they're all different ages. But in reality, when I start looking at this, 70% of them actually fall between this age range. Right, that's your bullseye target market. The ones on the outside of that age range are your warm leads. Are you with me? So we can still attract the warm leads, but it's the bullseye that we need to be ideally marketing to. So I want you to create that spreadsheet. B2C, you put your customers down your left-hand side, 9 characteristics across the top. B2B, your best 9 companies or businesses that you work with. Sorry, your best 30 down the left-hand side, your 9 characteristics across the top. You start to plot it on and a pattern will start to emerge. And then, hey presto, bingo, you've got your target market. And then once we know who they are, and once we understand the pain that they're experiencing, on why they want to bring you into their business or you into their home, perhaps, and we understand what's keeping them awake at night, we can then start to get really laser targeted with the messaging that we're creating around the content. And if we're putting the content out that's talking direct to your target market, we're putting it out at the right time, we're putting it out on the right platform, and it's hitting your target market straight on the end of the nose and stopping them from scrolling, then you're going to start to generate more leads But these leads are going to come from warm leads or pre-sold, ready to buy. Now, if you go away and implement what I've just shared with you, and yeah, it might take a week or two to pull all this together, but if you do this, you will start to invest your time and money into pre-qualified leads. If you don't do it because it sounds too much like hard work or you can't be bothered, and you continue with your scattergun approach of attracting those 4 different types of prospects that I shared at the beginning, the likelihood is you're going to be wasting so much time on people that can never afford or haven't got the right timescales, or there's not a right fit between you and them. And I don't know about you, but most business owners are incredibly busy and they haven't got enough time in the day to get everything done already. So why are you wasting your own time dealing with people that you shouldn't be dealing with? Make sure you work out who your target market is and then market direct to them, and then you'll start to generate more leads. Now, if you're not a member of our Trades Freedom Club Facebook group yet, please consider clicking the link within the description of this episode and joining our Facebook group. And what I'd love you to do is head over to the group, tell us that you've listened to episode 11, and then tell us what actions you are going to take from this podcast episode. Come into the group, show us that you're working on your business. Tell us what you're working on. Give us the wins, give us the results, give us the milestones that you're starting to achieve by listening and consuming these coaching podcast episodes. And finally, could I please ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button on whatever platform you are listening to this podcast on? And if you get 2 minutes, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave us a review on the platform, because leaving us a review and following the show will help push the show out to more tradesmen and women, and we can get our message across, get more people consuming this content to help them to build, grow and scale their businesses. So thank you for joining me, and I'll catch up with you on next week's episode. Thank you.